6-month, 8-day check-in, and I want to say in this video that the longer you continue to use nicotine, the more you only get satisfaction out of the feeling that it gives you, and in this case, the further you are from being your true self, because a large portion of your identity has to do with the addiction. It affects in this way primarily behavior regarding the way you act around others, your social circle, your confidence, to delusionally think that you can feel better than most at the push of a button or the breathing of some flavored air, when in reality you can get more satisfaction with things that make you feel more alive than just really good for a second, and that in turn also feel like a hell of a withdrawal until you take another hit, and then in a continuous cycle of addiction. Don't be scared. Do not be afraid to quit. After just 6 months of me quitting nicotine, 6 months and 8 days, I can genuinely say that I feel I've reversed any mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual bills or taxes was acquired by use of nicotine. And I smoked for 5 to 6 years, and it's only been half of a year, and I pretty much feel cleared out in all those categories out of addiction of nicotine. But yeah, if you make it a habit, the same way you got into the habit, same way you can get out of it. It's not going to be any more difficult. It's going to be a similar process as to when you started. And think of it, of course you don't want to go back, and what's done is done in the past, but think of it as once you quit nicotine, you'll have a new self, right? That's something to look forward to after quitting nicotine. And to answer the question of why people are so addicted to nicotine, and I think primarily it has to do with some people that are stressed. They use it as a tool to, keep their stress at a maintained level, and for their stress not to be up here, they take a hit of the nicotine and then it brings them down here. It allows them to kind of have a reset. And the bad part about that is that you're depending on something external from within you for fulfillment. And yeah, of course, you can do something external to make the internal feel well, just as you can do something internal to affect the external. It works in that same way. And I also want to talk about what I realized, and something I came up on, is that when you travel or when you go to a new place, and I've talked about this on my channel back in, I think it was maybe some of the first 3 months of my journey, and I talked about how changing scenarios, scenery, changing location will allow you to start to create new thought patterns and new streams of consciousness, which I never experienced this strong until tonight, when I broke through and went in an area where I'm not normally at, and started to basically, as soon as I got there, tap into that stream of consciousness in that area, and it was just refreshing, right? It was mentally stimulating, physically stimulating, emotionally stimulating, spiritually stimulating, just to go to a new place. So I strongly urge you guys, instead of being so rooted and fixated in the same places that you frequent from your day to day, definitely make time to explore, make time for adventure, time away from where you normally are. It can definitely benefit you, regardless of, it can definitely benefit you. And I actually want to say that an answer to a question that Emily Monzo left on my post, saying that when nicotine becomes a habit formed by comfort and repetition, and that user is fully invested in their nicotine addiction, what do they need to mentally unlearn, or how does the nicotine mess with the soul? How does it have a burden on the soul? How does the addiction connect with that emotionally, physically, spiritually? Emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally. And, the answer for what does one need to unlearn? Simply, physically, one needs to unlearn being so impulsive, right? Doing the first thing that comes to mind, or the first thing that comes to heart. And that comes with being in the present moment. And that's a big one there. Definitely being more in the flow, going with things. And that's going to be physically. Mentally, I want to say that you can actually mentally, you would need to detach from thought patterns that you're always going to be comfortable, and that you're always going to have a sense of comfortability with you at dispense via nicotine, via vape, via cigarette. What do you have it? Emotionally, as well as just like I talked about mentally. Pardon me. Getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and letting uncomfort drive you more than your comfortability ever did. Spiritually, which is another part of Emily Monzo's question, and it was a great question, and thank you for the great comment. It is much appreciated. Spiritually, you cannot serve two masters. So basically what I mean, most nicotine users or hardcore drug addicts or just drug addicts, they are subconsciously at the point of making that decision to do that drug. Yeah, eventually, at one point they consciously made that decision, but it gotten to the point, and it has gotten to the point where the subconscious mind makes that decision. And if you're not making that decision, which means you're not at peace with it, which means you don't have balance, and your soul is really finding purpose externally through an addiction, whatever meaning, even though you can't see it, you may be putting that in a sense of spiritual protection or a spiritual well-being or a sense of spiritual seclusion where you think you have a sort of maybe upper hand when it's truly not the case, like we talk about, delusional thinking having to do with nicotine, which I've talked about in the past few videos. And that just kind of works as kind of a masquerade for you feeling like you have the upper hand, or that, gosh, I just feel so good from time to time, from moment to moment, from my nicotine. I think it has something to do with that kind of ideology. I'll definitely expand on this. I want to say congratulations to anyone out there even challenging themselves to entertain abstaining from something that they're addicted to, or something that you've wanted to change, and grow from. Congratulations, stay on that path. It will pay off. it does pay off. That's going to be it for the 6-month, 8-day check-in.